to the Emotionally Booked podcast, where we give a small review on a book that we that I've read or am reading, and we talk about the emotions that we experience through these books, or that made us feel, or the whirlwind of feelings that wrapped us up in this experience. And yes, reading to me is that's what I read it for. I read for the experience and read it for just the joy of what it brings and all that. So welcome to today's podcast. We are talking about the author Keri Lake and her Eating Wood series, and this particular one, Eldritch. This is a thick book. Let's see. It was about 740 pages. Okay, this is the second book in the series. This was the first, Anathema, and it was quite a big book as well. The third book is coming out in this year, at the end of this year. So there's a theme going, you can see on the covers. And it is a more gothic series, a little bit more suspenseful. And the first book I read, I would say in a perfect time of year. I read it in October, November, kind of like a fall feel. And it was just it's so funny to say a gothic read is a cozy read, but you know what I mean? It had the right, I had the right atmosphere for it. And it just seemed to work really well. But once I was finished with that, I was I have to go into the next book. So I had finished that one, and I'd gotten so wrapped up in so many other books that it took me so long to get to this one. So it's been a while, because this one's been out for a while. So, oh my goodness, it took me so long. So anyway, Eldritch. So this probably wouldn't be spoiler if you hadn't read the first one. So if you just want to hear my thoughts on it, there you go. I'm only going to give mild spoilers. I don't want to give anything too plot pointy away, but I do want to walk through how this book emotionally affected me, and boy did it. It emotionally affected me. I will say, after I finished reading it, definitely for me a 5-star read. It's hard to not get a 5-star read from me. A 4 or 5 stars. I am I'm a mood reader. I am a feel good reader. If it made me feel good, if it just took me away and I enjoyed it, it's 5 stars. I have a very low bar because I just like to be entertained. I just want to be entertained. So this one was a 5-star read for me, and I will say, after this, I wanted to wear dark things, and I wanted to be in, after each of them, I feel after the first one, I wanted to be in my gothic era, and after this one, I was yes, I still need to be in my gothic era. I was trying to explain to a friend, I don't feel it is, I don't feel it's dark romantasy per se. I feel it is gothic romantasy. So even though the cover looks very dark and brooding with the skull and the raven and all the things, or the crow, I forget. Oh shoot, it's crows. Yeah. To me it's just, it has this masterfully gothic vibe to it. Just the settings of the woods and the way that the things are described are just very, I love that deep, dark, moody kind of feel. I've only gotten that from several books and that I've read, and this is one of them. Some books I think they're trying to be dark and moody, but not so much. But the descriptions of the places that we're at and the people, and just kind of almost immediately just brought my mind to like, it just, I can visualize things in my mind. I don't know if you're one of those people. I actually learned that there are different people who, like, when they're reading, they just, they're reading the story and that's it. That there's nothing like visually that they're seeing. And then some people see, like, you either see zero, you either see like a drawing of an apple, or you actually see like a realistic apple. Like, those are like the like realms that you can kind of see. And when I'm reading, I literally picture like a movie happening in my head. Like, I can picture the people walking. I can picture the if it's really good description, I can really picture it and I can really see it. And when I was reading this, I feel like I could see, the creepy woods and the sky and the crows and I feel like I could see it all, like, and it was just got you into this like really like moody space, and I loved it. Like, I loved that kind of like, it just I don't know, it gave me just such good it was just good descriptors. Like, it was very good descriptions, very good word and adjective uses to make me just feel so into the story. Okay, so that being said, I am a huge reader of female main character like books that are, female driven, like just very, I read a lot of female authors, and not often do I read books that are male main character heavy. Now, some of them, like, I read a lot that have like dual POVs, and that's great and all the things. And I love a good dual POV, but it does lean more heavy to like the female main character is going to be, she's going to be the one to save the day, and she's going to be the one to figure everything out and all that kind of things. And not to say that that's not here, but if reading these two books, the first one was definitely female main character heavy on her story, on the plot, and this one is definitely more main male character heavy on the story and on the plot. And to say it was different than I've experienced before, because I yes, when you read the typical fantasy, there's I read I don't know if it's fantasy, I know it's sci-fi. Red Rising is definitely main male character, which I do enjoy that. But I'm just saying my typical is a more female main character driven. This one, being in the romantic fantasy genre, was so surprising to read to see how much I just connected. Like, it was, sometimes, I read to, find myself. I read to be a fly on the wall. I read to, to kind of empathize and experience, what the characters are feeling. And sometimes, do you worry? I don't know if you're like me. If you're not like me, then totally fine. Sometimes I worry that I won't be able to relate if it's a main male character. I won't be able to relate, or I won't be able to really connect with the character because it's it's not relatable or whatever. And oh my goodness, Keri Lake's writing of the male main character, his name is Evander, and the way that she writes his story, I have never felt so much for a male main character, I believe, in probably a lot, like ever. Sometimes, and I don't know if you're listening to this and if you've read books like ACOTAR or things, like, we see the main male character going through, and we've listened to what their trauma is or what they've gone through or they've experienced, and we get just slices and bits and pieces because they're not the predominant, they're kind of like the tier 2 character. They're like not the main, they're not the, the main voice that we're listening to. And there is pieces of this so that I was able to look at and go, I was telling my girlfriend, like, we've referenced in other stories that we've read that these male main characters have gone through XYZ, but we really didn't really hear from their perspective. Like, we didn't really hear what they were going through. And this one really pulls and shows you what Zavander's going through in his time of, deep and deep low. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say that he was imprisoned and tortured. And we know that from other stories that, romantic stories, if you've read. And while I understood that that's what the male main character was going through, I really didn't feel like, I didn't really get a sense of like feeling of what was happening to them, or what was, and really what they were feeling through that. And this writing of Zavander's, what he went through and the things that he was dealing with and how it affected his life going forward, it really affected me as a reader. Like, I don't know if I ever have read so poignantly how abuse and torture and captivity and slavery, and how it truly affected this person down to their core, down to almost like, I'm done kind of feeling. I remember pausing in the middle of this and looking at my husband and saying, I've never, like, there's some books that have brought me to tears, like to the brink of like, I might cry. This one, I was, the cheeks were misty, and it was the wiping away of the emotion, because you just truly understood what this poor man was going through. It was so intense and so fortifying on his life, and it changed him as a person. And just to see, not just from, not just for a little time. I mean, I believe, if I'm correct in my reading, 100 years that this man experienced this pain and this torture and this just awful time in his life. And I'm going to try to find something here to read to you. Okay, here's just a couple quotes. So, just a little trigger. He is going through some torture, and I am reading to show you how these words affected me. So if you don't want to hear the words of someone who has been through a torturing session, please skip forward. I'm just reading because Keri Lake's words really were able to bring me to understand his predicament and his plight. Okay, so here he has been tortured. Zavander inwardly sighed. There was a time he would have killed for a chance to return to the mines, return to slavery. Would have offered up his fellow slave without a thought or care. The unsettling image of facing his friends after what he'd suffered, however, the shame and humiliation of what had been done to him, would have sickened him. So he's currently going through a different type of torture, and he'd rather go back to the mines than to be what he is now. Again, this is another section. Somehow The words couldn't touch him, as though trapped behind a veil of steel. Only a haze of bloody red penetrated his thoughts, a longing to tear skin from bones and limbs from torso. He wanted gurgling screams in pain. His body, such a glutton for violence, it shook him into paralysis. So he's been physically tortured, and he feels like all he can have is pain now. He can't have anything else. This is another one. He dreaded the moment when the pain would wash over him, when the fury would wither to calm, and the weight of his reality would cut through him like a freshly sharpened blade. It didn't happen immediately. He knew that, having suffered the loss of his father. Perhaps he endured too much over the years, that his heart could no longer be moved, no matter how grievous the pain. Was there a limit to suffering, a point at which a man could no longer feel? Oh my goodness, this poor man. Savander stared at the shadowed ceiling above him. If his heart had bothered to beat in the last hour, he wouldn't have known it. He felt nothing. Not the expanding of his lungs, not the crescents he had torn into his palms with his clenched fists, not even the rage anymore. He was a breathing corpse, an abomination of life, empty and hollow. And this is just one, that was from 2 different chapters in the book. But Savander goes through, he's working through the pain, the torture, all the things that he experienced through this book, and it's his way, and it's really the way him and Mavis are connected, and how, the first book was her and her journey going through what she was going through, and now he's going through, and then how the two are kind of, I really cannot wait for the 3rd book to see how everything kind of culminates into, a healing of the two of them by their circumstances. And the female main character doesn't fully, she knows he went through something horrible, and he hasn't gotten, even by the end of this book, he hasn't gotten to the point where he is totally, expressed to her, what happened and who did what to him and all the things. She just knows that there was a lot of trauma. And I think I'm really waiting to see that happen, where they can heal each other, and that journey of healing, I think, will be very pivotal for both of them. So the feelings that this brought to me, there's times I feel like I don't give male main characters as much credit as I give female main characters. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's me, or if it's just like saying, women can, we know that women can handle pain, seen through childbirth and all that kind of stuff. We know, we got, but seeing women go through things in books, sometimes do you feel like you think, I don't know if that's expected. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to think that, because that's horrible to think that. But sometimes when I do see that women going through different things, sometimes I just go, yeah, sounds about right. That's what we do. We go through things, and a lot of times it's just not. I think that's why I like reading those books where the female main character is going through a lot of things, because then we can see, see ourselves, kind of and I guess when you see a male main character being written where they too are going through the same, an internal emotional, review, those quotes that Savander had, it's oh, yeah, we're all human. We all are, I'm not the only one who can have pain and have suffering, and, men can experience it as well. And it did make me able to and it was interesting that I read this at a time when I know my husband was going, we were having just a tough time, and with our kids, my little actually, it was a whole bedtime routine thing, and we were just getting really stressed out and tired and exhausted, and I was just like, you know what? Sometimes I talk about my emotions way more than he does. And so I was just in this moment that we were both frustrated. And because of this book, I took a moment and was like, hey, how are you feeling? And he just kind of looked at me like, what? I was like, no, really, tell me how you're feeling. Because I feel like I talk about my feelings all the time, and I don't ask you enough how you're feeling and what you're going through. And so we had a really good conversation, and I think this book helped me realize that we're, to continually realize we're all in this together. We all have feelings, we all have emotions that we're going through, and everyone is valid. And so checking in on our significant others, our partners, our spouses, is a good, it's a good thing. And so it really helped me to kind of notice his emotions too. So so if you want to read a book that is a series, so there will be a third book in the series. Don't know what it's called yet. I believe it's coming out at the end of this year, and it's like I said, it's a more gothic series. It does have a lot different triggers, different kind of things in it, kind of a darker setting, gothic setting, but the feelings, the writing, truly spectacular. 5-star read from me. So all right friends, I forget the tagline that I was going to use for the book podcast. Maybe I'll put it in here. Have a good one. Thanks for joining me on today's podcast, and we will see you next time.